So it sounds like we're back live from the fabled green screen hangar, again inside the Noman store, now I'm surrounded by even more beauty. I have the ladies from Funko. Here we go. A lot of people probably envy me. It's a really nerve-wracking experience. I feel like I'm back home at my mother's house. My aunt and all my sisters and my cousins are here, and it's like a very feminine energy, but we're gonna do it. I'm used to this kind of thing is what I'm trying to get at here, so I'm not uncomfortable at all. Funko, a pop brand, the biggest on the planet, it's fair to say. We're nodding, yes.
Yeah,
we agree.
absolutely.
We agree. This is a multicolored experience here. I had to tone myself down for this particular episode of the ZBrush Summit because I knew what I was getting involved in. The bobbleheads gave them their start, but it's fair to say at this particular point it's grown into a monster. And speaking of monsters, that was a tremendous presentation. It's sometimes difficult to jump back and forth that way. I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for being here. Your first time ever presenting? Like as a group, or now let's have that microphone over here. Pardon me about the microphone. We're going to work our best.
Yeah, we've done a couple of panels. So Nina, Amanda, and I have sat in panels, and then they've done some like interviews. But for a presentation, it's our first time presenting.
Okay, and you have been featured on your company's blog. If anyone wants to know more about these people, you can do some free stalking.
Yep.
I think it's the only time that it's acceptable. Once a year, I get to stalk everybody. Like I probably know things that I shouldn't about people at this point and make phone calls to friends and neighbors, but I'm kidding. I want to draw attention to something very special. If I can get a zoom in here, we have in Darcy Harlan is sitting to my right here and is holding a version of Paul Gabory, and I think that's just amazing. And then also, not that it's nice to see Paul, however, in all his leather-clad style, they have made what has now become, for me, a watershed moment in my life. Not only do I get to be here every year to do this, but I have been immortalized in action figure formats. Here we have Anna Chiknavarian is holding a version of me digitally sculpted inside a ZBrush by Nena Ijioma. I said that correctly, right?
Sure.
And it was painted by one Amanda Brock, sitting to the far left of myself. That would be stage left on your screen. And I can't get a zoom in on that. They have it on there. That is incredible. I am forever grateful, and I'm quite humbled, actually. And it's just really... This is amazing. What can I say? I have to take a breath here.
We did a little stalking, too.
That's fine, yes, right? So you're no stranger. Maybe you saw me in some tights, perhaps, at some point, some unicorn tights with the rainbow.
Did you put them on your Facebook? Put on your Facebook.
You've been on the Facebook. Are we friends on the Facebook?
No.
No? We should be friends on the Facebook. Now, yeah, hold that.
We should.
We should definitely be friends on the Facebook. I mean, we crossed the Title IX bridge. I gave her a hug on the way in here. I said, man, no one's ever done anything like that for me. Since the microphone has made its way over there, let's hand it off to Amanda Brock. Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Does the name Rogue Horse Studios mean anything to you?
No.
This is a very awkward part of the interview. There's another Amanda Brock, now obviously being touted as Amanda Brock. You don't have an affinity or a connection to the equestrian world, the horse riding at all, the horse sculpting?
No.
Okay, this is an awkward moment.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
I thought this person actually has a similar look to you, so this is very interesting as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you don't sculpt horses?
No, I don't think I've ever sculpted a horse, actually. The Tauntauns maybe as close as I've gotten.
The Tauntaun is the closest she's gone.
Yeah.
Scratch that from the record. This is the trouble with the internet. You can't always consult the oracle, is what we're finding out very quickly here.
Yeah.
Tell us about yourself. You have a background in video game art and design from the Art Institute of Seattle.
Yes. Basically, I was hired on to Funko as soon as I graduated about 3 years ago now. So
your transition was immediate. You just jumped right in to product and toy design?
Yeah.
Yeah, all four of us are straight from school.
Okay, so they've all four come from school, so stay in school is what the message here is.
Yes.
Actually, that brings us to a question that I had listed way down here. So you went to the Seattle Art Institute?
Yes, I did.
And I suspect that you know each other from school, perhaps.
No.
We went to the same school as her. We know the same.
We're going to need that mic. I'm so sorry to do that to you.
I went to the same school as her, and so we knew similar people, but we weren't in the same year, so we didn't quite meet each other.
Like ships crossing in the night, and you as well.
No, actually, we were the same graduating class. So, Nena, we're from DigiPen, and Nena graduated, and she knew, or someone at Funko had a connection to DigiPen. They're like, hey, you should look at that school for some local artists. And that's how Nena got found. And then she posted, oh, that she has a job at Funko. And that's where I was like, wow, that's really close by. Maybe I should apply. Right. And so I think through Nena, I was able to get an interview because they looked at my portfolio and decided to let me interview. And so
you're all local to Seattle, to the Seattle area.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. It's not something that people consider. I mean, I'm a sort of byproduct of the 90s, and I think for me, like, Seattle always represented rock and roll music, which maybe still does, but at this point it sounds like the winds of change are rolling through town, and it could be a mecca for toy design as well at this point.
Who knows, maybe.
Yeah, keeping the punk rock alive, which is really something I like. Bringing it over to Nena, you've been with the company since 2013.
Yes.
So you've seen a lot of changes occur.
Yeah.
I mean, you might be a senior stateswoman at this point. Is that fair to say?
Our art department was smaller than our current sculpting team when I started. And
that's less people than are sitting here, maybe.
No. No, we have 18 sculptors now, and when I started, the art department was 17 people.
Right.
So I've seen the company kind of balloon from sort of a small company. Even the mindset and like how we produced figures was small, and to just like it just grew. It got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's still getting bigger.
What are some of those challenges that you've faced in that regard, working in a space where it was a very much smaller and more intimate experience, and now it's expanding towards something that, has very large global scope?
When a company's small, you can kind of figure it out. But when a company's big, you have to know everything. Like everything has to have a policy. Everything has to have a setup pipeline. Because if something slips through the crack, it's not going to be one thing that slips through the crack. It's going to be a lot of things. Because there's more to work with and more to balance.
A lot of dependency outside of just the confines of the structure of the building. Deadlines in other countries, for instance.
Yes, deadlines.
Yeah, and also there's the effect of having shipping delays. Which I'm no stranger to in my own experience.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something. I'm going to bounce around here. It's you can imagine it's quite tough to interview 4 people at one time, and that horse business really threw out. I would say that Battle Cat and the adaptation of the He-Man into the Funko realm.
Yes. Yes.
See what I'm doing here? Tell us about the challenges, and you can all. I mean, everyone can feel free to chime in on this. Tell us about the challenges associated with working with such recognized, highly, it's fair to say, these are like some of the most recognized brands on the planet, especially demographically speaking in certain cases. What are some of those challenges that you would describe?
Well, I think going back to kind of what we touched base on in there, we're all really big fans of a lot of what we're working on. So we actually try to keep it true to the characters as much as possible. Going so far as like sometimes the concept artist will give us a thing and we're like, no, that's not the shoes that this person has. The person has these buckles that are very like signature to them that we have to make sure that they're on there. But there's a bunch of challenges that we face, especially because it's like a very stylized look that we're trying to adapt a lot of very stylized things to. So,
and stay within a certain stylistic language, which I think is fascinating, to be honest with you. Watching your demonstration, I'm like, wait a minute, how do they manage to like all that extra stuff on there, but it's still at its core, it's still that thing. How do you, like that to me is an extraordinary, it's an extraordinary process. I think that it's actually a testament to your skill levels as artists. I think in some cases, as an educator and in design, I think making something that looks more simple is quite difficult. More difficult in so many cases than it is to just throw a bunch of wrinkles on there. You were going to say.
No, I was just going to mention that we've definitely broke. Like when you look at the very first pops and just what they look like. And then you kind of look at what we've done in just the present.
Can we refer now? Can I do that? Yeah? Can we,
sure, yeah.
A pop has found its way from the private collection of Louie Tucci. We have pop number 29. Special thanks to Kyle Johnstone behind the camera somewhere for gifting this to me as I departed from Pixelogic formally. Yeah, this is a hand-sculpted version, right? And
correct.
So they can take a look at that. It still advances the brand. So you've transitioned away from this.
Yeah, and well, I was gonna say, like, sometimes we'll make it and we'll say, well, that's pop-ish. It still has the eyes. We're good there. Sometimes it doesn't have eyes, but it's definitely been interesting with just creatures, just dragons or monsters. Like, we've been really pushing, trying to get like where it's from to really read as that character, but still implementing some pop elements in there.
And I think
Yeah.
you've done a tremendous job. To me, it's always been like, oh, and you mentioned earlier it's charming. Somebody said charming on stage. And I thought, oh, that's exactly how I would describe that. Even the creepy stuff, like the Michael Myers I mentioned off camera.
He's cute.
It's kind of cute. I'm
He's
like,
come
you know
to
what?
kill
This is-
you.
Yeah,
It's
it's the
cute.
kind of thing you might keep in my lapel in my blazer. When I go to teach the class at night. Just put it on the desk.
Yeah.
I think that there's something endearing, and I think that the brand is very successful in that regard because of that. I think there's this sort of memory of perhaps holding one of those Kenner action figures. I didn't have so many of those, but yeah, I'm a toy freak. Also, while we're on the topic of this He-Man business, I was gifted the Castle Grayskull for my 7th birthday.
Yes.
Is there any plans? You probably can't talk about this. Do you have any play sets in the works in this regard?
I certainly hope so.
Okay.
I really, really, really want a Castle Grayskull,
Yeah,
like
same
so
here.
bad. So I hope so, and it's definitely something that I'll be pushing for. So.
Okay, you got my
you know.
vote because
Yeah.
How many people would you kill to get it?
I probably shouldn't say that on camera.
How many Michael Myers dolls would you carry in your pocket at this
Oh,
point
I
to
don't
represent
like.
those people?
I'm not a horror fan, so but yeah, definitely, I'm a huge Masters of the Universe fan. So
Yeah, same here.
Something
you guys
we-
do some stuff that's in the same realm, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we have the Savage World figures.
right, yeah.
That are definitely like a callback to those original Masters of the Universe figures.
Zorn.
Oh, that's Zorn. Sorry.
Sorry.
Zorn's-
Don't forget the microphone.
No, I didn't want to. That wasn't a. I didn't. That
Oh.
was a secret.
Oh, hey, okay, so never mind that. I'm going to pass the microphone back down the line. Interestingly enough, it's already been noted that there is a strong feminine component to the team at this point, which I think is great. Describe the dynamic associated with having such a strong feminine composition where the team is concerned.
So it was actually really nice. We had, for the longest time, it was a full female sculpting team.
Holy smokes.
So there was this, I think it was 6 of us, and then Phil came in, and he was the 7th, and he broke the.
Phil,
He's another member of our
does he
team.
have a last name?
Brunensky.
Okay, Phil Brinsky, cool.
And so he came in and broke the full female team apart, and now we've kind of grown and spread to more of both genders. But we're actually a very heavy female team, and it's been really great that they've kind of supported that all the way through. So
Yeah,
I don't think it
that's
has any
fantastic.
difference to the company, but it was just really exciting to see.
Our dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it as a point of reference, really. I just think you're talented people, and the whole construct is just a construct, in my opinion. It's right up there with ageism. It's like, well, these are just constructs that people have created, and so it's really great though to see that that kind of thing is happening, because it offers, for me as an educator, outside of this sphere of this experience, it's really an opportunity to point the finger and say to young students of mine, well, look, there's this entire team of designers who are doing something that may seem very technical. Breaking traditional molds is what I'm really after, so it's really great to have you here and to work alongside you. Great ink, by the way. I was going to tell you that. Yeah, this is like sleeve treatment happening over there. Well, geez, there's so many questions. The latest run of figures is, which is fair to say, they're kind of a departure from that historical style associated with Funko. The 1960s Batman collection is the one that I'm thinking of. It's probably up there as one of my favorites of all time. I said it on the record. Can you tell us about the transition into these more anatomically realistic figures and their construction? Is that something
This
that's
is the 1960 action figures that Shelley did. Is that what we're the 66?
just par
Batman?
excellence, by the way? Adam West never looked so good.
Yeah.
I think so.
You should talk about the action figures.
Sorry.
Our
Sorry.
sculptor who worked on that project is not here, so.
Well, she's here, but
Well,
she's over there.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Sorry,
okay.
so
We can give
sorry,
a shout out to this
paraphrase
person, right?
the question again.
Basically, I'm a huge fan of the 1960s Batman collection. Apparently, one of the team members is sitting out there.
Yeah.
What is the person's name?
Shelley Rapley
Shelley Rapley. This question's for you. This compliment goes
and
out to you.
Krista Wade also
And
sculpted.
Krista Wade.
Krista Wade.
Krista Wade. Coming to talk to you next. Good work with the Batman. Now take it away. So basically, tell us about the transition into the more anatomically realistic space.
So I think when we came in, we had some figures that were reaction, which are definitely an homage to the Kenner figures.
Yeah.
And at some point, Funko wanted to enter the action figure world. So we did have kind of basis from the Kenner figures, or the Kenner-esque figures that we did. So we wanted to just create something that could fit in the current world of action figures and adapt that. And also, I just really appreciate how on Batman, for example, we totally like gave him a belly and just trying to.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's it's very like it's just a very fun figure
So
set.
he wasn't exactly. If we call back, an image in our minds of Adam West and Burt Ward, they weren't exactly superhero type builds, which also begs the question about sort of physical sort of ideas of what it looks like to be a superhero. It's quite difficult to be a guy sometimes. It's like really tough. People talk about tough being, it's just tough to be anybody. But sometimes I'm like, wow, man, that's like a more realistic version of that person because he's like, he never was like any wildly over the top superhero. He was just a regular actor who they put in some strange tights and, some other very strange little guy beside him.
But more on that. So the Kenner-esque figures, they didn't have very much articulation, so it was a lot easier to figure out. But all of a sudden, the action figures, they have their 9-point articulation, so they have elbows and knees. And I worked a lot to kind of, I would look at figures, I would like dissect them, cut them up, and like I have no idea what I'm doing here. And fortunately, around when that project came along, we hired someone that actually their master thesis was on action figures, and she's also sitting out there. I just heard a woo. Isabel. Isabel Anderson.
Ms. Anderson, we have a
Yeah.
conversation to be had. A master
Yeah.
thesis in action
And
figures, a lady after my own
she-
heart. Holy smoke! No wonder they didn't bring her
Yeah,
back here.
so she's
over.
really awesome and really passionate and excited about joints. So I was able to work with her, and
This is a family show, lady.
yeah, and she was able to like just create tools in ZBrush to just kind of insert the joints in, and obviously like working back and forth with the sculpt artists, like what worked, what doesn't work. But I think we've just, every action figure set that we release, we keep iterating on it, and it just keeps getting better and better and
Yeah,
better.
I think that's a good point because you can tell if you look across. I mean, we just saw a really old piece that was released some years ago, and you can see a trajectory that is quite sophisticated, and also in alignment with your own development as artists. I think that's fair to say, and it also mirrors the development of the tools and the features and the robust nature of the software. I don't want to make this like a sales pitch because that's never what it is, but I think that that's fair because we've had presentations here before with companies like Hasbro, for instance, as well. And we were talking, I believe it was last year or the year before, about how even the plastics like have been changed in toy manufacturing because of technology. So I think we're just continue to push the envelope from a design perspective and see that there's different ways to utilize the materials. I can't get over that. That's like totally wild. The other thing I was going to ask was, I know they were alluding to this earlier. What kind of advice would you give? I know that's kind of like a blanket question, but what kind of career advice would you give to artists around the globe for maintaining? And I'll direct this to you because you have like a lot of years there. How would you? What kind of advice could you give to people in regards to maintaining strong career trajectories and longevity? Like a lot of people don't spend so much time at one place. And maybe give us an insight into that and how to grow inside of a company. Not to mention navigating all of the sort of invisible barriers that are relevant, right? Which are real in some cases.
Yeah. I'd say just don't get stuck in the one thing that you like. See what's happening, expand your horizons, learn new things. If you've been using the same methods to do your thing for years and years and years, actually learn the new technology because you might figure out that there's a better way to do what you do, and it might open up new processes and new techniques that you didn't think you could do, and it'll push your work. Because at first, when 408 came out, I pretty much just kept using it the way I was using 407. Then I was like, wait, there's this thing, this thing. It does things I couldn't do before.
Yeah, that's so true, right? You're like, wait a minute, why am I doing it? Why am I doing it
so
that
sometimes
way?
just take a break and open up a tutorial video and learn new things. and try new things.
Yeah, because even in the first interview today with Damien, the famous Damien Canderley, Damn Standard Brush guy, he and I were talking about even like the freeze subdivisions, and it's like you hear freeze and you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't touch that, you know? And you're like, well, no, it can be very useful. And there was, the question came from the audience, but I know who asked the question about, the comparison between projecting the details onto a duplication of something. Those considerations are like pretty real, and so they're in alignment with like continually moving forward. So I think that's good advice. It also takes us to the point in the conversation where I wanted to commend you on also the modular approach to like modeling. It's like really, I had some students in the audience. Some of my students are here, and I constantly tell them like try to build something modularly from a modular standpoint. So your process really sort of put a tremendous sort of.
I think I've had too many projects, like when I first started and I was doing everything just as one big thing that I would sculpt on, and then we'd get a license or change and you'd be like, I have to resculpt that. It's not in pieces. It's one solid thing. So I kind of learned once I started doing that, it's like, oh, this is so much better. This Dynamesh is my friend. I'll use it once I'm ready, but having that iteration where everything is broken apart and plus I often use it to make other characters. So I'll take a dog and turn it into a cat if I don't have a cat already, or I can turn that dog into a deer.
Yeah.
And so it really speeds up the process, but it also means that it's really editable, and revision, there are going to be so many revisions with what we do because we're not in full control over the end look of the product. We have a licensor to appease, and we have a concept artist that says, could we maybe not do what that
Yeah, I don't
is?
want to spoil any secrets, but the next presentation is going to happen with a studio, and they deal with a lot of licensing and a lot of very recognized brands. They're coming up with the Aaron Sims company, and I'll probably be asking them in a similar way about that, because there is certain room to wiggle and certain room not to wiggle. So I guess we're all kind of in a situation where we have to meet the requirements of the client. Let me go and break away from this ZBrush talk for a second. Starting with you at the end, of course, now we know that you do not sculpt horses and that you have
That's
no
true.
interest in, maybe you have some interest in the equestrian arts.
No.
What do you do with yourself when you're not busy making toys for the world to enjoy?
So I do a lot of cosplay. So I do a lot of sewing and building props.
Cool.
Sometimes 3D printing them. Sometimes just building them from
Some
other
foam?
materials. Yeah, some foam.
I read that.
Foam. For sure. Yeah. So that's mostly it. And hanging out with my dog, who's great.
Sweet. What kind of dog is it?
He's a German Shepherd mix.
Oh, wonderful. Sweet.
Yeah,
Okay.
so-
Yeah. Oh, exciting. There you go.
Shout out for my dog. Yeah.
Shout out to the dog. Okay. I guess, and then Nena, what about yourself? What do you like to do up there in Seattle? I'm just trying to get a bigger picture of Seattle at this point. For me, it's just it's bigger than Soundgarden and Nirvana.
Right now I've been just kind of chipping away at having a home. It's a lot of maintenance. But kind of like something I'm trying to slowly transition into is kind of designing my own figures and doing kind of smaller runs and hand
cool.
painting and hand molding and stuff. So I'm slowly proceeding in that direction.
Yeah, sweet. That's really cool. Yeah, I'm working on a few quiet things of my own as well. Got a printer coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Printers open up a whole
You'll
new
friend
world
me on
of
the social
possibilities.
network, and then maybe I'll update the pictures, and you can
Yeah.
could be like legitimate friends here, people. Okay, and then basically Anna, Chicken-Avarian. I said that so well, didn't I?
Yeah.
Practice.
I'm not gonna call myself lazy, but I'm a very lazy person.
The colleagues inside the green screen hangar are
I
laughing
guess
out loud.
my hobbies include playing video games and watching television.
Oh, cool.
But I do enjoy. I mean, Seattle area is very beautiful. There's a lot of forests and mountains, and the ocean is right by. So I love hiking and outdoorsy type of
Are you
things.
involved in fashion at all?
I like clothes.
Okay. Okay, I might have seen something online at a fashion show of some kind. Are you participating in a fashion show? Maybe?
I helped out my friend who's a fashion designer,
Oh, cool.
but I haven't really done
Okay.
much.
I wondered maybe you were involved.
Yeah, I don't know
in
how
something.
old this stuff
who
is
knows?
you're seeing.
Yeah, but that's also perhaps a side interest that could happen. Maybe because you're already designing a bunch of fashions. Again, great, all of you included. Great jacket on that guy.
Yeah.
I'm seeing this guy come from the shadows in the background. He's giving me the spinning finger of death. Last but not least, Darcy Harlan. What do you like to do with yourself when you're not creating cool content?
I also cosplay, kind of similar to Amanda.
Oh, cool. What's your latest cosplayer character?
It's been a while. Work has kind of taken over my life.
Same here.
I don't remember what my last costume was. It was a year ago.
Okay, fair enough.
It's probably Poison Ivy.
I like how she knew that. That's good.
Yeah. I know I wore that one a bunch, so. And it was my own adaptation of it, which was fun, because at work we're always kind of stuck with, you have to kind of go towards someone else's
Yeah.
review of it.
Yeah, that's
so.
right. You get to stretch that your own direction. I got this really cool Deadpool mask from a Spanish designer. These like 3D rapid prototype eye parts. It was like the legitimate cartoon version. Anyway, I better put a wrap on it. I'm keeping them to myself. On behalf of myself and the entire Funko team, everyone at Pixelogic, thank you so much for sitting with me. We had Amanda Brock, we had Anna Chick-Navarian, Darcy Harlan, and last but not least, Nena. Thank you so much for sitting with me, and thank you so much again for those little designs. Really appreciate it. Yeah. So back over to you, Paul, and the rest of the audience on the main screen.